The Warriors put together an absolutely abysmal performance last night to a depleted Dallas Mavericks team, and they received terrible news as a result. On the back half of today's show, though, could the Warriors see some reinforcements from an NBA free agent that has to be signed in the next week in Lonnie Walker? We'll discuss all that and more on today's show. But before we even get into all of it, before we start talking about Lonnie Walker later on today, should the Warriors sign Lonnie Walker? For what you know from your brains, you ball knowers out there, should Golden State sign Lonnie Walker? Type S for sign, type P for pass. I mean, the Golden State Warriors absolutely should have won on Wednesday night against the Dallas Mavericks, losing 111 to 107. And you could point to a lot of different things. You could point to Steph being pretty abysmal for most of the game and not getting any calls, and talk about the officials a little bit, the Brandon Pajemski kick ball and the Jimmy charge at the end of the game, Kyrie getting 3 free throws, shooting a jump shot with his left hand. You could talk about all of that. But the root of this loss comes with Golden State's pure inability to hit shots close to the rim. And it was an absolutely agonizing performance, and I'm so mad that I wasn't live to yell about it with all you guys here at Warriors today. But look at this. These are not makes. The ones with the holes in the middle, the ones that look like donuts, those are misses. Those are zeros up on the board for Golden State within 4 feet. They missed 16 layups last night throughout the game, and they finally came alive a little bit in that fourth quarter, but it was too little too late. The expectation as a professional basketball team is to be able to hit layups, and a lot of these were point blank, and eventually they got in their heads so bad where you saw Pods with 20 seconds, less than a minute left, pass up a wide open layup, dump ball from Steph, and kick it out to Moses Moody, who was already a little bit inconsistent from 3 in this game. It's completely unacceptable, and this is the real root of the reason that Golden State lost this game. You could point to the fact that they shot less than 30% from three-point range, and you're not going to win a lot of games in today's NBA shooting that poorly from distance, but overall, man, you got to hit the ones that are given to you. You got to hit the ones that are less than 4 feet from the basket. The expectation for you as a professional is that you can hit a damn layup in today's NBA. The players and the talent is too high in this league to be missing those easy opportunities, and they just couldn't. And then when you couple that with Clay turning back the clock and Kyrie making noise, dropping a 40 ball, we'll talk about the defense on Kyrie in a little bit as well, but that offensive explosion from him, it's not going to be a recipe for a win. And you know what? It all starts at the end of the day with 30. When you point to these Golden State games and whether it's wins or losses, it usually depends on whether or not Steph is having a good game. And yeah, you could look at a box score and see 25, 5, and 8 and say, hey, he played pretty solid. But if you look at the efficiencies pretty quickly after, that same thing is just not there. Steph was abysmal for 3 quarters. And yeah, he was getting hacked. Yeah, he was trying to draw fouls. And yeah, he wasn't getting many of those calls. But at the end of the day, this falls on you, Steph. You got to be able to hit these shots. And a lot of the layups and the opportunities that he had early on in the game were pretty abysmal as well. I think that if he was in a position to just be shooting those shots at a higher clip and a more efficient rate, then Golden State would have been in a better position heading into that fourth quarter where he went off, man. He had a couple of threes and was kind of willing this team back with his gravity that you saw Pods get a backdoor layup to the rim as well. It all starts with Steph, and he's got to be putting together more complete games if Golden State wants to stack wins heading into, this postseason run here. Less than 30 games to go, and they're already talking about sitting Steph and Jimmy against Houston tonight. Let's talk about Jimmy now, though, who I think has been really awesome throughout his tenure so far as a Warrior. Only 3 games, small sample size, but he's put up 20 or more points in all of the appearances, and he's stuffing the stat sheet on the glass. And what's really impressed me is the facilitation game as well. I've talked about how Jimmy can be that point forward for Golden State, and he's been awesome overall. Not really, taking a ton of threes. He didn't even attempt one last night, but getting a lot of great shots at the rim. Didn't get to the free throw line as much as he had in the previous 2 games against Dallas, but that'll come more in time. He's the best free throw drawer, the best foul drawer on this roster, no doubt about it. But you got to talk about the turnovers for him, and I'll talk about Steph's as well. He had 4, Draymond had 3, and Jimmy had 3 as well, and they had that crucial charge at the end of the game. And you could argue whether it was a block or not, but you shouldn't be in that position anyway. Don't miss 16 layups, and you won't be in that spot. I got high hopes for Jimmy. He's been great on both ends of the floor, and he's only going to get better and more acclimated to this offense and whole system in time. Let's move on to Draymond now, though, who I thought was really great in that fourth quarter, man. He was turning back the clock as well, and he looked like a top 5 defender in this league at this very moment. And I still think he ranks that highly. He's just not the scoring threat that, strikes fear in the eyes of a lot of defenses. He's a great connector, and he always finds the open teammate, always making the right plays. But there really isn't much to deviate from Draymond-wise. You could say that he was getting a little bit hot with the refs from time to time, but Golden State wasn't getting a lot of calls. James Gucci Mane Williams was clearly on the side of the Dallas Mavericks all night long, and Draymond was letting them know about it. Moses Moody has been really, really good, though, over the past couple of games. And in the 6 games that he has started for Golden State, he's averaging like 12 points on like 70% true shooting. So maybe look to see him get more and more involved and more put into the starting lineup, especially once Jonathan Kuminga comes back and Golden State is wanting to run a small ball lineup, as Moses Moody is technically one of the better floor spaces on this roster, but was 2 for 8 last night and missed that crucial 3 when Pods set him up wide open in the corner, passing up that open layup. But Moses Moody, I think, has been solid overall, and you can see the defensive improvements and the effort coming from Moody as well. This guy sucks. Like, this guy genuinely sucks. Buddy Hield should be sent back to the Bahamas right now. If you're not shooting well, which is the only thing that Buddy Hield's good for in today's NBA, is shooting the 3-ball off the catch, right? Because he's not even a creator. He sucks at that, too. Why is he getting 30 minutes in this game and Steve Kerr is looking for answers in the postgame? Why is Buddy Hield playing 30 minutes in this game? And why are you putting him on Kyrie Irving? Like, Kyrie shot 80% against Buddy Hield, 83% against Buddy Hield during the night. He was, and he had the one defensive possession in the fourth quarter where Buddy was kind of draped all over him. Solid defense in that part, but he already shook him. He got the shot off clean. If you actually had a solid defender like a GP2 or a Moody, like Buddy got switched on him, I was like, oh, yep, Kyrie, go to work. He's on an island. Buddy stinks. Like, get him out of this rotation immediately. Like, he provides nothing for me on both ends of this floor, and then you let Kyrie go for 42. Something about Kyrie playing against Steph. He's always got something to prove and always giving these clowns on Twitter an argument. Kyrie better than Steph. Like, no. Can we stop with all that? This guy disappears more often than he's putting out performances like this. But he was completely unconscious. That little run he had in the third quarter where he's just pulling up from 30 feet. Like, Kyrie's an awesome player, but there's got to be a little bit a better defensive assignments on Kyrie throughout this game. It took Steve Kerr until the fourth quarter with like less than 10 minutes left to be able to realize that he had to double and trap Kyrie on basically all the opportunities and make somebody else on Dallas beat him. I thought Pods was solid, but I keep talking about that missed opportunity there with late in the fourth quarter, like less than a minute left, where he gets the dump off from Steph and just doesn't go up with it. There was no contest. He just kicked it right out to Moses Moody for, let's be honest, a wide open 3, but that's just not how we play basketball, right? If we're thinking critically and thinking clearly, you put the layup up. You're down what? 1 or 2 at that point? Like, you either tie the game or take the lead. Take the layup, bro. Like, I thought Pods was great. He was really attacking the glass. He made his opportunities when he had them. Didn't shoot terribly from the field. Missed his 2 threes, but that's fine. I've actually liked what I've seen from Pods over the last couple of games, even though I've been on the record saying that I don't really think he's an NBA player. His effort is there, and he was solid last night. And I think he should get more minutes over Buddy Hield. Don't get me wrong. Like, I actually think he's way better than Buddy Hield. That's how bad I think Buddy is. Another guy who I think should get minutes over Hield is Guy Santos. And he didn't put the ball in the cup last night, but he was incredibly active on the glass, always hustling, always giving 110%. He was like a plus 10 on the floor. Pods was like a plus 8. Buddy was a minus 21 in 30 minutes. He genuinely stinks. And I would have liked to see more Quentin Post as well, but, you know, he wasn't necessarily getting the most effective version of himself out there against a very small ball Dallas Mavericks team, depleted in the front court, no doubt about it. And when you get a guy like Quentin Post match up against a small ball team, it's probably not the best opportunity to be playing him a super heavy load of minutes, and you saw that in his plus-minus out there on the floor. But let's ask this question now, because I think Buddy Hield genuinely stinks. Should Buddy be in the rotation? Type Y for yes, type N for no. I'm gonna say I'm typing my N for nose right now, because Buddy, I'm kind of just through with that whole experiment. At the end of the day, you can't lose this game, and Golden State is already talking about potentially sitting veterans tonight against Houston on a back-to-back. Just can't happen. It just can't happen. And I didn't really think like the Golden State played that terribly defensively last night. Like, obviously you let Kyrie explode for 40, but overall I think the rotations were solid, and there weren't a ton of like instances where I said, oh yeah, they're just going through the motions here. Like, they're not trying. Like, they definitely were giving a good effort on that end, but overall it just wasn't enough. And Golden State has to be more consistent and has to play more complete games if they want to avoid the play-in at this point, where I think they have to probably win 75% or more of their remaining games. Next up, though, we're going to talk about a potential reinforcement that could make Buddy Hield obsolete in this Golden State Warriors lineup in the form of signing Lonnie Walker. Talk about that in just a moment. But first, I got to give a major shout out to today's sponsor, and that is PrizePicks. PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports platform with over 10 million active members because it's daily fantasy made easy. And they're always trying to hook you up with incredible deals, like a free $50 in your account when you sign up using our promo code CLNS and place your first $5 entry. You might be asking me, Tyler, how do you even place an entry on PrizePicks? Super simple. Just pick a lineup of 2 to 6 player stat projections across like any sport. I'm talking basketball, baseball when it comes around, college sports, esports, hockey, darts. They got it all on PrizePicks. So just pick a lineup, 2 to 6 player stat projections, more or less. And you can watch the real winnings roll in real time. I'm talking up to 1,000 times your money on PrizePicks. And here's the lineup that I'll be rolling with on tonight's live stream against the Houston Rockets. Give me Jimmy to have more than 6 free throws made. I think he's going to get to the rack a ton against a really physical Houston Rockets team. Give me more than 24.5 from Steph, because if they want to win, they're going to have a really masterful performance from number 30. And then we got a discounted stat projection here. I actually don't really know. Might be like a Valentine's special with the flowers. But if they're giving me a discounted stat on SGA, yeah, I'm all over that. More than 25.5. You can rock with my picks. You can fade my picks. Just make sure you go and do it at PrizePicks. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use that promo code CLNS for $50 instantly when you place your first $5 entry. You don't even need to win to receive the $50. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks. Run your game. All that information will be clickable down in the comment section and description of today's video. Alrighty, let's talk about Lonnie Walker, because I can't stand to see Buddy Hield in this lineup anymore. And you know what? If you lose a 2, you're going to have to gain a 2. And I think Lonnie Walker deserves a chance in the NBA. And currently, that might be what we see in the coming days, is he has a expiration on his little window where he can sign with an NBA franchise, as he is with a EuroLeague team right now up until February 18th. So we could see in the next week Lonnie Walker joining an NBA team. And Golden State is in the news of sorts about having some interest in Lonnie Walker. Now, are these any reputable sources? The original spot comes from the Times of India, and I don't think they have any sources on the idea. I think it's just an idea that they came up with. But at the end of the day, I think not Buddy Hield. Lonnie Walker is probably a very solid addition to this Golden State team. But let's temper our expectations a little bit, because no NBA insiders have come out and said that Golden State's reportedly interested in Lonnie Walker. I will say, though, with them having 2 roster spots available at this point, this is somebody that I could absolutely see being up on the roster, because competitive and championship level teams already had interest in this guy before the season began. Remember, Boston tried to sign him. They did sign him for the preseason, and then they just figured out that they didn't have the actual money to keep him on the roster for the entire season. So clearly teams with smart basketball minds in their front office like Lonnie Walker and think he could be a valuable addition to a team that was already one of the deepest in the league in the Boston Celtics. Why can't Golden State bring him along and have him affect the game on multiple levels? And I bring this name up specifically because the NBA buyout market so far has been super dry. Like, outside of Ben Simmons and maybe one other guy that I'm kind of forgetting right now, this has been a terrible buyout market so far, and maybe I'm just misremembering, but I feel like guys would have already gotten waived by now after the trade deadline. That just has not happened yet for a lot of guys that we expected to be on the buyout market. Marcus Smart, Kelly Olynyk, Larry Nance. A lot of these guys who we thought could be potential buyout targets just are sticking with their current trash organizations right now. Kind of feel for a lot of those guys. But let's talk about Walker, who's not in that situation, not being held down by a non-competitive NBA team. He kind of is getting held down by a EuroLeague team, though, as he only has until next week to sign with an NBA franchise. That comes from Mark Stein and Bobby Marks of ESPN. So Lonnie needs to sign with the team in this next coming week. And has the performance that he's had overseas dictated him warranting an NBA contract? I'd say so. I would say that the EuroLeague is not really a great spot for a guy like Lonnie Walker's game to flourish. Hasn't been uber efficient from the floor, 33% from 3, but he is putting up solid numbers here, over double digits, 13.5 a night. And this is a guy that put up double digits over a long stretch in the NBA. This is a consistent double-digit per game scorer, and his best days obviously were with the Lakers. And you see, he's a competent three-point shooter. Back in 23-24, where he played nearly 60 games, shot above league average from 3. And if Golden State can add a guy like that in, who no doubt plays better defense than Buddy Hield, then I'm all in on signing a guy like Lonnie Walker. And we know that he's performed against Golden State as well. Look back to the 2023 playoffs, where he dominated and shot the ball incredibly efficiently. One of the best series and kind of stretches of Lonnie Walker's career was in the postseason against Golden State. And he was actually playing a solid level of defense at that point as well. However, that is something that teams are kind of skeptical about, with the consistency with his defense. But overall, I think Golden State could use a guy like Lonnie Walker. They need someone who could be a bench spark plug scorer. I don't want to see Buddy Hield this rotation anymore. when Golden State gets Kuminga back and they create these lineups, I don't want to see Buddy Hield in any of them anymore. And if you're gonna need to replace him with some sort of floor spacer, I think Lonnie Walker can be that guy. And as far as like leaving Buddy on an island defensively, I think you have a better chance with having Lonnie Walker out there. He's got the size profile. He's got a super long wingspan, and although he's 6'5", like he, in my opinion, gives you a better opportunity to get a defensive stop than just leaving a guy one-on-one with Buddy freaking Hield at the wrong side of 30, who's never been a good defender in his whole life. Like Lonnie Walker has the tangible assets to be able to be a really, really solid defender on that side of the floor. So I think he could be a very, very solid addition for Golden State if they decide to pull the trigger. It won't cost a whole heck of a lot as they're taking him away from a EuroLeague team. And maybe the Golden State culture and the team defense aspect over here in the Bay could get him right. And I think he could flourish if he was put into this lineup. So now that you've seen all the things that we have to say about Lonnie Walker and what his current situation is and what kind of player he has been and the performances he's had against this team even specifically, answer this question again. Should the Warriors sign Lonnie Walker? Type S for sign, type P for pass. I'm trying to hear what Dub Nation has to say. Somebody needs to replace Buddy Hield. If you made it to the end of today's video, go down below in the comments section and give me a Dub Nation. I'm going to go down there and heart and reply to everybody who's a real one. Stuck with us all day on today's video. I know it was a long one, so go down below and type Dub Nation if you're a real one and you made it to the end.